Hi there. Thanks for joining in. Furloughing, the myths and the process. We wanted to sort of put on a very quick sort of salon chat. We've had a lot of phone calls and emails, as you can appreciate, over the last couple of weeks, from clients who are struggling to understand sort of the amount of information which is coming through in terms of sort of the furloughing process and how it all works. So what we wanted to do is to do a very quick sort of 10-minute salon chat with you all, just to give you an update in terms of where we are and what you need to do, and a very quick and simple process. So let me just share a screen with you, and then we can get going. So a little bit about who we are, first of all, for those of you who don't know us. So my name is Karen Watkins, and I'm the managing consultant here at Furloughing Consulting. We are an agency. We've been set up for about 10 years now, and we basically work with business owners and entrepreneurs to build independence and freedom around three sort of core areas of their business. So we have sort of the structuring organizational design side, which is the structuring businesses for growth, the training and development side, which is developing and training leaders and managers, and then we have the managing people side, which is the HR support side, which is one of the sides that we want to sort of talk to you about today, and for the very reason that we know most of you who are online now. Yeah, there's been a lot of calls and emails from clients over the last couple of weeks about the what and the how, the communication in terms of their staff, and the general sort of process that people can follow. And we've been working on it for quite a few weeks, so we've pulled together a very, very simple flowchart that will give you an indication of how you use that to be able to get to an effective end, in terms of if you're considering going through or about to sort of start the furloughing process. So first of all, let's sort of understand what furloughing is. Until a couple of weeks ago, the word furloughing didn't really exist to most of us. It's probably the most overused word at the moment in the last couple of weeks. But where it sits in terms of from an employment perspective, it's not a word that we sort of technically use from an employment law perspective. So it applies in sort of this context only of where we are at the moment. And it sits somewhere between the short-term layoff type situation when work dips off, and on the other side of that would be sort of the redundancy termination side. Furloughing is designed to sort of drop in between sort of those two. So what you will actually get is it's gone past sort of the short-term layoff or the longer period of time, and is pre the redundancy situation, and has been set up in response to the current market, where the information was released sort of on the 20th of March. So like I said, it's not a term that we actually use a lot of, but it is for the purposes of the sort of this situation that we find ourselves in at the moment. So what is the process, and how should we follow it? Like I said, we've been working with a number of clients over the last couple of weeks to pull together a process that is sort of quick and easy for people to be able to understand, because there was a lot of information out on the market. What we wanted to be able to do is give you a sort of very quick overview. So the slide that you can see in front of you gives us sort of the starting point, which is the review of the contract of employment. And there are two sides in terms of the contract of employment. So if you look at the left-hand side of the flowchart, if you look at your contract of employment and it does state that you have a layoff or short-term working clause in your contract, then you are likely to just slightly sort of condense the amount of notification that you need to give individuals in terms of the process. So review your contract of employment, layoff and short-term clause is in there. It will mean that you can then sort of move to a slightly quicker process of the consent and confirm, which is then writing to the employees and saying, you are aware of the furloughing process, and what we need to be able to do now is gain your consent to be able to change your contract of employment for a fixed period of time, and then confirm from you that you're happy for us to do it before we then drop you into the furloughing sort of bucket, as it were. So that's sort of very quickly the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, is where you have got no clause in your contract for a short-term or layoff. It's not an issue. It just means that what you need to do is to sort of enter into a sort of slightly different consultation, pre-consultation process. Now, we're not talking a consultation process as in a redundancy situation, but what we are saying is that we need to notify them that we're in this situation. And then to say to them, we will be consenting, we'll be looking to gain consent from you and confirm the change. So it's just a pre-letter. It's what we've sort of we've named as letter 1. Once you sort of have contacted those individuals and said, we are considering using this process, which will mean a change to your contract of employment, what you then do is sort of slip into letter 2, which then levels up the consent side of both sides of the process. Letter 1 gives them the notification you're considering it. Letter 2 gives them the information that allows them to be able to consent and confirm agreement to the change of their employment contract. And because we are changing the employment contract, you do need to make sure that you have done at least 2 of those 3 processes before you sort of, before you actually sort of invoke the changes. It can be done very, very quickly. This isn't a process which takes up a huge amount of time. As some of you already appreciate, we've done it sort of very, very quickly. 2 weeks ago, I think we implemented one almost sort of overnight in response to the retail hospitality closures. So it's not something that should, tie you up in an awful lot of paperwork. It should be relatively sort of straightforward, which is why we've designed it this way. So in terms of when you sort of gain confirms the consent from the individuals, that's the time that you then have to go into ongoing communication with them about how long they are likely to be off for, and keeping in regular contact with them, basically out of politeness really, that, we've put you into a furloughed sort of bucket, as it were, but we'll continue to communicate with you to make sure that we know when you're likely to come back, how the work is going to be, and what process, what the process will be for coming back, and what your job will be. So that's the level of sort of ongoing communication that you need to retain with them. So in terms of sort of the ways in which we then sort of look in terms of selection, there's a number of these out on the sort of the market at the moment. I've seen quite a few of them, but this is just a pure sort of example that we've used quite effectively with the clients that we have. So some of you will be used to seeing this. This is an example employee sheet. Because we're now talking about the change to an employment contract, which obviously is affected by employment law, we need to ensure that we're actually following a process of consent, confirming and selection that has been checked, and that we have some form of idea. And this one here is just an example of how you might sort of select individuals for to decide who goes first in terms of that furloughing process. So let's just quickly sort of run through it and give you an idea. So what we've done is sort of split it down in terms of past the employee and department stage. You'll then see it goes into high risk, parents and carers, ability to work from home, and work availability. And the more sort of the yeses and the nos that you put in will give you a very, very clear indication in terms of who should be selected and at what point. So if we look at the example of Mr. C. Another, on this one here, what we're saying is that he falls into the high risk vulnerable category, which is the group of individuals that are currently sort of shielded for the next 12 weeks. If we know that he's sort of a high risk candidate or a high risk individual, he doesn't necessarily have to have parents or caring responsibilities. But if he isn't able to work from home, you can very, very quickly see that if he's needed to be shielded and he can't work from home, he would automatically become a priority 1 status in terms of selection for furloughing. If we look at Mr. A, another at the top, what we'll find is he's not in the high risk category or vulnerable category. He does, however, have parent or caring responsibilities, and he is able to work from home. So what you might find there is he will probably become a priority 3 individual, because he will be able to sustain work for a period of time, and that might not be the entire time. It might be just for some of the time, but it will still mean that he has the ability to be able to work from home and therefore keep the job going for a period. So you'll see sort of how it starts to work out that you have priority 1, priority 2, and priority 3 individuals. And then you can very quickly sort of play with the spreadsheet in terms of sort of salary costings and what we're likely to sort of see back. Like I said, there's a number of these out on the market. I've seen quite a few of them. This is the one that we found that works for us and for our clients. So yeah, hopefully it can work for you. In terms of going through the process, one thing I will say to you, both from the letter notification consent forms and from the employee selection sheet, please, please, please make sure that your paperwork is kept in terms of from an audit trail. We know that HMRC have said that they will probably do spot checks in terms of an audit once the system is up and running for payroll. And in order to protect yourself in terms of unfair dismissal or selection for selection criteria, please make sure that you keep all that information together, that you get the consent forms back, that you've got your SSP notification, NHS 111 isolation forms. Make sure that all of that information is there, just in case you are audited as a result of this. You've got the information to be able to say what your selection criteria was. We're not expecting a high claim, but just please make sure that you've got all that information kept. If indeed you did want anything in terms of sort of the letters or the examples of the spreadsheet that we've got here, please just give us a call. My contact details are at the end of these slides, so give us a call and we'll quite happily sort of send you across the template forms that we've got, so you can start to have a look at them. And then if you want to have a chat with us about it, then give us a ring. Just a couple of considerations before we sort of finish up. Furloughed employees need to be absent for a minimum of 3 weeks. What this basically means is it's sort of stopping. Well, we think there's two reasons. One is the SSP HMRC system. What they don't want to do is they don't want to have people who are jumping in and out of the system on a sort of weekly basis. What you'd realistically expect is this process should be used for people who have little or no work for a period of 3 weeks or more. So furloughed employees need to be absent for a minimum of 3 weeks. You can't jump in and jump out, like I said, so you can't take a team, bring a team in for a week and out for a week. It needs to be a minimum of 3 weeks. An employee cannot undertake work for or on behalf of the organisation, and this includes providing services or generating revenue. So you can volunteer for the likes of the NHS system, or you can do sort of some volunteering work in terms of the community. What you can't do is, if you are furloughed, is to continue to provide services or generate revenue for the company. So you're off and you're furloughed, you're off, that's it. Point number 3, employees that have been furloughed have the same rights as they did previously, which includes the statutory sick pay, maternity rights, and other parental rights against unfair dismissal to redundancy payments. So please, again, this is the paperwork side of things. Please make sure that your selection criteria is up to date, and that you're aware in terms of anybody that might be, under maternity or parental rights whilst, for the period whilst they're off. When employers are making decisions in relation to the process, including who to furlough, please remember that equality and discrimination rules will apply in the usual way. Again, we're not expecting, a high level of claims as a result of this yet, but just in terms of to protect yourself, is to make sure that your selection criteria is fair and consistent. Like I mentioned, as you're requesting to be able to change the contract of employment, you must obtain in writing to be able to limit any future liability of claims. The contract of employment, any change to contract of employment should be notified and should be confirmed in writing and gain consent. So make sure those consent forms are back. And also, we also know that HMRC have the right to retrospectively audit those claims. Again, just another consideration in terms of sort of paperwork. So those are things I think we wanted to go through with you. Like I said, it was really just to bring a lot of information together in a very, very quick format that you could hopefully sort of take away and start to use. So in terms of sort of further information and useful links, obviously this is us. If you click on the link, it will bring up sort of the details, bring up my sort of contact details. Give me a call or send me an email if you want to sort of talk through anything, or indeed if you want the copies of the letters and the template documents, etc. Give me a call, let me know, send me an email, and we'll very happily sort of share that information with you. Paulbridge Accountancy, I appreciate most of you have already got accountants and payroll people, which is fine. Paulbridge Accountancy are our accountants and have been with us right from the very start of this process, so are already quite far down the line in terms of that understanding of how the payroll systems will work and what information you need. So Hannah is the contact there. So if you wanted to get in contact with her, her details are also there. The .gov website is the one that we're all probably pretty familiar with now, but you might want to just have a look on there and sign up for the notifications that come out in terms of any changes which are likely to happen. And finally, in terms of, this is Moses Druitt, so these are our employment lawyers. Sean McDonough is the employment partner, who is based over in Bath. Moses have offices in Shepton, Frome, Sherborne and Bath, so very well covered within this area. And if you do obviously need sort of advice and support in terms of the employment contractual side, then obviously get in contact with Sean. Again, his details are there if you want to sort of click on the link. So if there is anything else that we can help with, give us a call and let us know. Thank you very much for joining. I appreciate you dipping in for sort of 10 minutes, enjoy your day. Remember things that we've sort of discussed. Give us a call if you need any help. Thanks again for joining, and have a good remainder of the day and stay well. Thanks.